All right, we're going to start out today looking at security in Microsoft SQL Server. Now, there's parts of this that are going to be ANSI SQL commands for granting and revoking permissions, but we're going to be looking at the Microsoft things on top of that. So part of what makes this piece difficult to teach remotely for you is that I don't know what computer you're working on. I don't know what security they have set up on your computer. And those things can change how things happen. So I'm going to take you through how we would normally do it when we're at school and we have computers and we know how they're set up. Or we have a virtual machine at school and we know how it's set up. So I'm going to take you through that on this computer. If you can do it on your home computer, great. But if you can't, or if things don't work, you can just follow along and you'll learn the concepts, and the concepts are going to be what's important here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Explorer. And we can come over here, we can find our PC. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say manage. Now there's other ways to get into this. That's just the handy way that I've always done it. That brings up your computer management. So you can go down here in Windows, you could type computer management, right? And we could click on the app there. There's about probably 5 ways to get to this app. But the easiest for me has always been right click on the computer in Explorer and just say manage. Okay. And in here, we have a lot of things we can do on our computer. The thing we're going to deal with today is our users and groups. If you wanted to add a way for somebody to log into the computer you're using, this is where you would come to do it. And if you look here in my users, I have a user called M. Geiger. That's the account that I have set up on this computer for me to log into it at home. There's also ways to log into a computer from a network if they're a member of a domain. We're not going to get into any of that today, but you will cover that if you do PC Pro next year, Computer Operations, the CCP course. If you choose to do that next year with Mr. Ricketts, we'll cover that too. But if I wanted to add an account for somebody to log on to this computer, if you look, there's only one of them that's enabled here, and that's M. Geiger. So I am going to create a new account that would let somebody log on into my computer. Now this doesn't have anything to do with SQL Server yet. Okay. But I just want you to realize that Windows accounts that you make in Windows or on a Windows domain, a Windows network, are integrated into SQL Server's security. So many networks are built all on Windows with a Microsoft Windows SQL Server that we can use the same accounts for our SQL Server as we do to log on to our computer. That way, if I'm logged on to my computer, I'm automatically authenticated to my SQL Server as well. That can all be set up. So I'm just going to show you how to create a local account on your computer. You can use this to let people log on to your computer without using your account. Keep them out of your stuff. You can have one for mom, dad, you, your brother, sister, and everybody can have their own account to log on to the computer. That way nobody's messing up everybody else's settings on their browsers and the programs they want. So in our local users and groups folder, where that account is that I'm using now, yours will probably have your username or whatever was set up on your computer. We're just going to right click in there and say new user. And it asks us to give this person a username. And I'm going to create George. His full name is George Jetson. If you know who that is, you're an old soul. George Jetson. Description, I can give it a little sample for teaching SQL security. Right? And we have to give them a password. I'm going to use our old standby, software1. So when I forget it later, you guys can shout out and tell me that it was software1. We have the option to make the user change the password at the next login. Now, when you're talking about Windows security, that's always a good thing. You set somebody a temporary password, then they have to change it when they log in. That way you will never know their password. Okay, once they log in and change it, you won't know their password anymore. As the administrator on the computer, you can always change their password, but you won't know what it currently is. So that's always a good thing to leave checked, but for this demo, I'm not going to check it because I told you I was using Software One here. I'm going to keep using it. Okay, and we can set their password so that it never expires. We can make it so they can't change their password. We can disable the account. There are reasons that you might want to create an account that's disabled, but not here. So I just created username George. His login is Software One. And I hit create. And that's it. And we can see him up here. There's George. George can log into our computer now. Great, good for George. All right, I'm going to stop right there, make this a short video, and then in the next video, we'll go into giving George access to our SQL server.